It's March 17th, 2022. That means that it is St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day usually uses this symbol inside of this symbol. This symbol has a calendar. On it, if we just go hummingbird and March 17th, it says St. Patrick's Day. I don't usually have in my life frame, here's Italian, here's March 17th. It's hard to get it in the frame, but here we'll turn it on the side. Still says, it actually says Fiesta di San Patrizio. Patrizio. So, Italy is European continent. Irish is, I don't know what they consider themselves. I consider them Europeans. They're kind of like a off to the side kind of a thing, but whatever. Close enough to Europe for my point. This gentleman up here on the story this morning for Ukraine reminds me very much of my grandfather and the way that he stood in his European Alpini uniform. Now, this man is also European. He might be Eastern European, but he is European. Just so we get the linguistics correct for family members.
He was a Ukrainian immigrant. He moved here in the late 1940s, escaping Russian oppression.
Okay, I don't want to go into Russia with Ukraine, because it seems to be a bone of contention at the moment. The purpose for this is you have a unity bowl of beets, B-E-A-T-S, B-E-E-T-S, because there's some music, M-U-S-I-C, that's making us all sick, and it looks like it was shipped from a continent just to the south of Europe, perhaps just to the south of North America. Could be central, don't know. But the linguistics starts arguments of stupidity, and then nothing gets done, and everything gets ruined. So if we could have one bowl of borscht, it's beets, and it's definitely not African. It's definitely north, it's European. They made big symbols so the children have a world to look forward to a future of being into. Yet, my parents' generation, it was completely lost on. And my generation, it's been steadily getting worse.
He always believed in a free and independent Ukraine. Unfortunately, never survived to see a free Ukraine. I hope he would be proud to know that we're still carrying on the tradition.
Part of that tradition is the Ukrainian fare you can find on the menu.
The pierogi are wonderful. Royal.
Different pierogi are wonderful.
Yeah.
5,000.
Again, look. European. But they look European.
Pierogi.
Because when I'm looking around New York in the music industry and the roast beef ball, and I'm looking at soccer, and I know what European looks like, and then what looks like.
Made from scratch daily by Ukrainian cooks in the restaurant's basement. Many of them with family back home, watching the news while they work.
5,000 pierogies a day? How many gallons of borscht do you think you go through?
Since the start of the war until yesterday, we've sold 1,000 gallons of borscht. That's 8,000 bowls. Yeah, it's a lot.
Wow. Bertrand's dad, Tom, joined us for a bowl of borscht, a dish many Ukrainians consider a symbol of unity.
A symbol of unity, even their own people living in Europe say the bowl of beets is unity. And it's awfully red for turning red. Some of us, when we get angry, all we see is red.
Definitely better to eat that with a black shirt than a white shirt. Because once you get it on your shirt, it doesn't come out. This is love in a bowl.
It's been an overwhelming outpouring of love, literally, and I think people really relate to borscht and what's happening abroad.
There's a saying, I guess.
Do they, though? I sure hope that you can, live by those words.
Yes, in Ukrainian.
Smacznoho.
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 Bon appetit.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
You know what's interesting? I don't like beets. This is the only thing that I will consume that has beets in it.
And I can't tell you how many times I've heard that.
100% of the restaurant's borscht sales are going to humanitarian aid in Ukraine.
What you'd want people to know about what this place means, not just to you, to your family, but to New Yorkers, to the community, and now to your staff that has family members.
See, here's the problem. Since for anybody who doesn't live North America, and for my purpose of conversation, even though my feet are here at the moment, my ancestry might be elsewhere. I have a purpose. I'm waving a white flag the best I can over the flag that I was given for this particular area, with this particular pagan calendar system, for which I do not know who St. Patrizio is or St. Patrick. No idea how my European ancestry. I mean, then in Italy, there's the Ides of March. I totally missed, by the way. I found that on Facebook. Somebody put it up, and I'm like, oh man, I didn't even mention that. And it looks like ES. Looks like IDEA at my purpose, but I missed it. Then I heard something again, March comes in like a lion, out like a lamb. Right, and then I hear there's March Madness, some basketball rep in the not us category was mentioning it, and I'm like, right, yeah, he's one of the problem kids with what's going on, and they can recite every college in North America. I don't have a clue, because they only train and teach and care about and reinvest in themselves in some disgusting takeover. They even took the name Kellogg and turned it completely South American or Central American or perhaps African. I don't know. But it's no longer North American and European, I'll tell you that much. However that happened. And they have an interesting saying in this North American pagan Irish holiday. The crossing guard. I said I grabbed the most handsome Irishman I could find this morning. I was like, to help his little old lady across the street, meaning my son, to the crossing guard. And she said, top of the morning to you. And I was like, yep, that's a reminder of things are not going so well elsewhere, in a hospital bed or hospice situation somewhere. Now, here's where humans have totally ruined a situation. There's a place in Thailand. It's a beautiful, I don't know if it's called an inlet, an alcove, something. It appeared in a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, and then all of a sudden it became a hot spot. All these humans came to visit it, and as usual, humans in their disgustingness ruined the entire alcove with their tourism, because all of a sudden these humans think that they're so important, hopping on a plane and going to ruin somebody else's heaven or piece of heaven is acceptable, which it's not.
And they all, this is what I thought was interesting.
This is part of this new college sorority I hate that basketball's tied into.
They are surprised by the deep love they have for this animal in such a short period of time. Is that what's happened
It's
to you?
exactly what has happened.
Yeah,
We love our little Henry. Henry the Mimi, we love you if you're watching. All right. Maya Bay, Thailand, is known the world over as the impossibly beautiful location for the 2000 movie The Beach. Tony's been talking about it all morning long. It is one of the most Instagrammable places on Earth. But its jagged cliffs and turquoise waters attracted millions of tourists who ruined the bay and its marine life. Now, after being closed for
Instagram, I would say, I mean, again, it's just, it's a piece of heaven and nature to be respected and not to be sought after. I mean, it's not to be enjoyed by everyone. It's something that's supposed to be held sacred and quiet. And if you have special purpose, then majestically, then you get to go. It's not just for anyone.
closed for more than 3 years, Maya Bay has reopened with a makeover for the social media age. Elizabeth Palmer went to take a look.
Until the year 2000, Maya Bay was a tranquil jewel just off the coast of Thailand. And then Leonardo DiCaprio showed up to star in the movie The Beach.
All in all, this really was paradise.
Based on a hole in time and space elsewhere, might I add. There's a very symbolic, natural whatever of two unnatural beings somewhere in a scene that looks like this off of a ship at one point, that two lovebirds that never wanted to be separated. And then humans got involved somehow and took prisoners. And then time and space breaks. I don't know how. I don't know why. I don't know why they bend the possibilities this way. But then they made a movie about a parallel story or a paradox to what actually happened before the world broke. When the world stood still, it was perfect. And there was a scene like this, but there was two people madly in love. The world started spinning again. Now you have an actor who's not the real person on one side, enjoying paradise alone.
Except for one thing. Desire is desire, wherever you go.
It kicked off a flood of...
This is what Manhattan looks like, which is why I don't like going. There are so many eyesores everywhere I look. All different kinds of eyesores of people who think of themselves like so important.
tourists, which soon spelled disaster for Maya Bay. Jostling tour boats, mobs of sightseers, and swimmers covered in sunscreen brought noise, litter, and pollution that destroyed the bay's marine life.
Faced with out-of-control boat and tourist traffic and dying coral reefs, the Thai government made the hard decision to turn Maya Bay basically from a beach into a backdrop.
First, they closed it for 3.5 years to let nature recover, and then rewrote the rules to protect the environment.
Nobody should have been able to go in the water to begin with. Let's just be honest.
And give tourists what they want. Trophy pictures. The beach. Emily's family and friends in New York will be able to see her in Maya Bay by this evening.
See, now we live in a time with social media.
Now here's the thing. She's not North American. She's just not. She's South American, maybe Central American. But she's definitely not North American or Canadian. And now if she's in Thailand and the Taiwanese people only see her and she says she's New York or she's the representative from New York, gets really confusing on a global tracking system and keeping one line of communication at the proper level for this many breaks of the world.
Just like who has the best pictures, so I was super excited.
Boats are now barred from the bay. Passengers arrive at the back of the island and then follow a boardwalk to the beach, where the new rules are enforced by wardens. This is Maya Bay reimagined for the social media age. But no one...
For the disgusting. For the children where there is no government, no parenting, no proper anything that's cohesive around the entire structure. I don't know how things fell this far out of order, but this is unacceptable. This person is not that beautiful and not that important to ruin the entire majestic for one.
Complaining they're too busy getting the perfect shot. Jason understands it's a trade-off.
As a tourist, you want to be able to see these cool sights, but at the same time, we definitely leave a footprint that is...
You don't deserve tourism. That's for the armed service, and they are chosen to represent the Majestic's interests and to protect the royals wherever they are. They are the arm of the king. They are the Majestic. They are the one who gets tourism because they tour with the keeping of the guardianship. But to have just any nobody special hopping on a plane and ruining other people's majestic scenery, oh, there's a world war just waiting to happen. Now here's part of the ode to stupidity that was built that does not work because the framework is broken. Their recruiting is broken, their education system is broken. The people that invest in this seem to have a whole system that's inside in some elitist mentality where they are investing in the African and the Latin American, and they are wiping out the indigenous North American and Canadian completely. It's taken on like an animal of its own. It's disgusting.
New York, where Providence is playing South Dakota State in the NCAA tournament this afternoon, one of many games to be played there. The tournament tips off today as March Madness returns. Gail is still dancing to the song.
Yes.
And the players do not represent North America, by the way. Maybe in spirit, but certainly not by genetic.
She's mad.
Another part of the problem, which is like, how many pieces of World War were they throwing into one generation? I thought they were supposed to stave off. Why is everything so disgustingly strewn about?
With March Madness, it will return with full crowds for the first time in 3 years. 64 teams, 3-week contest. It will determine...
And by the way, Couch Potato has no idea what this means. Like, there's something that follows basketball. It's not me. In high school, I had a basketball team that I cheered for, but that's when they looked like North Americans. In this college and professional league, they look disgusting. They look like Instagram tourist and leisure, the ones that ruin the world.
Who becomes the men's basketball champion? CBS Sports' Clark Kellogg knows this tournament like nobody else. He played in it 40 years ago, and then he had the chance to watch his son compete back in 2012. Now he shows us his personal love letter to March Madness.
Is this more of the gang that stole the North American labels and names and put them on the back of their shirts and now confuse everyone because it's televised in some kind of insidious takeover? I'm just curious. I'm looking for the holes in proliferation.
How it's so much more than the games played and the baskets scored.
I hold a wiffle ball with holes in my fingers to my heart while I'm looking for the holes in proliferation.
March, as the old saying goes, comes in like a lion and out like a lamb. The silence of winter gives...
Oh, so they're recognizing my saying. Thank you, who's on the lamb.
Wait.
Meaning on the run. Because this ain't your homeland, but now you have made some kind of space in equity or diversity, but caused massive adversity along the way.
New life, spring sunshine.
That's why in hemispheres, northern and southern, there's definitely a northern hemisphere look, and then there's the southern hemisphere.
And vibrant colors return. In the midst of all that, something exceptional is happening on the hardwood. People are coming together, sharing anticipation, exhilaration, excitement, and most of all, madness.
I don't share madness. This is humanness, humanity, and their madness in proliferation, the way that they broke things in their pro-life movement and forgot about nature completely. All about themselves.
Balls, bands, baskets, brackets, and buzzer beaters. Fans, both rabid and casual, drink up the special sauce of a 3-week run to a national championship. The mundane becomes magical once that ball tickles the twine.
Oh my God. That saying is so foul. Oh my God, I don't even want to repeat it and I can't get it out of my head. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And it's not even like one of these, because it was not meant with love. It was meant for something more insidious, as usual.
Sox for the win! Oh, yes! Or clanks off the rim. Moments both agonizing and joyful appear side by side for the world to not just witness, but experience. It's a multi-generational event. Old rivalries become new again. Families and friends bond over the hope that maybe, just maybe, this is our year.
UMBC.
Here, Cinderella doesn't just go to the ball, but demands the attention of everyone there.
The kid's on fire.
A small school.
Now, why is Cinderella even being spoken of by a thing that calls itself a Kellogg when it's a stolen name on the back of a jersey on a television to mispaint the entire operation in one of these? I'm just curious. How does one get the cleanliness and the neat and tidiness back after humanity has broken it so badly under the guise of so many different campaign words and years gone by that nobody has addressed the most seriousness of issues?
Like UMBC, the lowest seed in 2018, not just taking down the Goliath that was Virginia. 20 point.
They took down Virginia. That sounds to me like anarchy, and they know that they did it. Just saying. They broke the foundations that North America is built on and the founding fathers, the way Mount Rushmore is required to keep things. And they invested in some other future that was not allowed, but yet they accomplished it anyway.
But dominating them.
UMBC makes history.
It's a place where Loyola Chicago's Sister Jean, a tiny 98-year-old nun, commanded a room of giants.
Stay focused.
I have no idea how they engaged this poor, unsuspecting white woman into their insidious plot and plan. I have no clue. But they seem to do that a lot within technologies, within weaponry, within education, within North America. They just keep creeping up over the tropics and causing massive gardening problems.
Use your heads and your hearts.
And led them to the promised land. The Final Four. For 3 emotional weeks, hugs and high fives are exchanged, but just as many shoulders are cried on, tears shed, and futures pondered. For many, the handshake line and walk to the locker room at the end of the game is their last. I tearfully mourn the tournament's absence in 2020. No brackets, celebrations, bands, watch parties.
Is that a lamb? I don't know. I mean, if you say it fast, it's like is land. Island, that's island. Islam? Is that a lamb? That would be Islam. I'm just curious. It gets confusing because the North Americans don't know how to speak and how to read.
No buckets or buzzer beaters. But now, the thunderous roar of a full crowd returns after 2 seasons of stifled cheers.
How are they able to put so much of the wrong church in my state and multiple states above the equator and the equinox like level line? I'm just curious. Who allowed for churches to combine like in residency and all sorts of really dangerous operations? Who's in charge of that level of humanity? I'm just curious. Because I see in North America, there's been a lot of combination of churches inside states' land, and it becomes a real problem for people like myself who are just getting erased off of the whatever. And I really see a lot of gameplay. I don't see a whole lot of operations in cleanup and in disentangling the disingenuous.
I played in 2 NCAA tournaments well before the morphing of madness as we know it today. I was met with 2 painful exits. But it's another Kellogg story that will always outshine my own.
Kellogg lines up the 3.
Nick, the youngest of our 3 children, started for the 2012 Ohio University team that almost made it to the Elite 8. My wife Rosie and Nick's older brother.
Yeah, I'm not giving them more words than they need. Yesterday, they put on the most gory, horrific story that a person could go through. I mean, like, it was such a visual. I wasn't going to use it for social media. I wasn't going to use it for a point. But when I see that level of championship and mixing of church, you know what I see? You know how I feel? This is what this looks like. The fact that I have blown up in weight and that my heart and my pulse are at a dysrhythmia, that's a technology problem with weather pattern. This is what it feels like. This is what humanity feels like to me in North America. This is what I feel like my nation in North America looks like at the moment in the year since I arrived, 1978, but certainly unaddressed until this 2022.
You seeing that yourself?
Yeah, I am seeing.
And what does that do just for your own spirits?
I think it really lifts me up compared to where I was.
Yeah.
Because I just felt so helpless.
That's what I feel like my nation that adorns this flag. That's how I feel we look at the moment, with all this mixing of church and state, without purpose and without anyone intervening and taking out the disingenuous pieces and putting them back into some semblance of organization. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way universe, galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. As far as the nation, so that's, you've got surface level where the people reside in this disgusting project called humanity. If you call it experimental, I have no idea. With some kind of den napping, DENNAPPING. That's what happens when you mix churches on one state's land without permission from like the real rulers, overlords, and gods. But then there's the nature piece as well. And in their selfishness of not doing what is needed at church level, they've gotten into this dangerous, they've now ruined parts of nature. These are all signs of World War III about to happen. I don't understand why the pause between World War I and World War II with no technical claim on a World War III or any in the said future, I'm not quite sure why humanity would take steps to ramp up their efforts to make the world more dangerous and harder to explain to themselves heading into a World War III. Because it's almost like they made no effort to thwart it. They made every effort to push for it in some real championship move of stupidity.